Good morning, Civic Media listeners, Civic Media Mornings listeners. We're going to get going in about 40 seconds here.
You'll also hear from Turtle Island voices like Arvina Martin, State Representative Heather Keeler, Ruth Anna Buffalo, Dr. Anthony Stately, State Senator Mary Kunish, Robert Lilligren, and Bob Blake. Native issues are human issues, and human issues are Native issues.
Native Roots Radio, weeknights at 8 on your local Civic Media radio station.
Finding support for my child with ADHD felt overwhelming. I didn't know which direction to take.
15 seconds.
Good morning. It is 6:06 right now. You are listening to the Civic Media Radio Network, Civic Media Mornings. My name is Jamie Martinson.
And good morning. I'm Brian Noonan. Good to be with you again. Another big show with a lot to talk about. U.S. Representative Gwen Moore will join us in the second hour, and we're going to talk a little puppy bowl. We got a lot to get to. And oh man, if your child is on the UW campus, guess what? So are the measles. So we'll get to all of that. But we like to start with some stories that you might admit they're important, but in this storm of stupidity that seems to be coming at us nonstop, some stories get missed, and that is our job to dig them out. And by our job, I mean Jamie always digs deep and finds some things that we...
I try.
You do. And this one, though, everybody was paying attention to because Kristi Noem opened her mouth again and things fell out.
Something fell out. But she now says that all DHS officers operating in Minneapolis are going to be wearing body cameras effective immediately.
Did she say they'd be working or just they're like
No, we did not
Lego
specify
body
on
cams.
the facts. That's right. We did not specify the facts.
All
but
right.
she says that there are plans to expand the program nationwide as funding allows, meaning that probably a little dig at the bill that's hung up right now as the partial government shutdown continues.
How about they cut the bonuses back from 50 grand, the signing bonus, to maybe 25, and then all of a sudden you've freed up all that money for body cams.
Think what you
Fixed.
could
Look
do
at
with
me.
that.
I should be on some sort of a committee.
Fixing the budget here right on the morning show. It's amazing.
Within 30 seconds. That's how easy it is,
right,
actually.
That's right. So the move actually follows renewed scrutiny on immigration enforcement tactics after the shooting of Alex Preddy in late January and also Renee Good just a couple weeks before that. Investigators reviewed footage from more than 30 body cameras to piece together what happened. Weirdly, have you seen that footage?
No, I
haven't
have
seen
not.
it. Okay, all right. Because when I read that last night and I was putting this together, I was like, wait, there was actually body cam footage from 30 different views that was pieced together.
I'm guessing it was not flattering then, if they're not, because knowing Kristi Noem and this administration, they would have been out there banging the drums to say, look at this is why we had to do what we did.
I'm glad that you said that because I thought I missed something in the process. So okay. Advocates, of course, have been pushing for DHS officers, including ICE and Customs and Border Protection, to wear these body cameras, noting that officers have sometimes relied on personal cell phones to record encounters. We actually saw that with the Renee Good shooting. President Trump said he left the decision to Noem, calling body cameras generally beneficial for law enforcement. The announcement comes as Congress debates a short-term extension of DHS funding. Democrats are pressing for limits on ICE operations. Some Republicans, including Wisconsin's own Ron Johnson, are signaling support for body-worn cameras, even as broader immigration disputes remain unresolved, I should say. But,
and Ron Johnson is also against judicial warrants. He just wants them to have a piece of paper, anybody, to write up your own warrant. I'll be honest, I agree with body cams for all law enforcement, not just federal. And it is, and we chuckled a little, it is for protection of not only the citizens, but it is for the protection of the officers too. So, because eyewitness testimony, not reliable at all. We're seeing, citizen recordings are really proving helpful, but I think they should always have body cameras. I don't care if it's your county sheriff or ICE.
Agreed. And in this particular case, though, I'll be honest, I'm a little skeptical because
I don't
the
believe
question,
there's footage.
the question isn't whether DHS officers wear the cameras. I mean, obviously, we joked a little bit about that. It's whether the administration can be trusted to release the footage. We just talked about that as well, right? There's footage that's apparently been pieced together that I haven't seen, you haven't seen, and probably a good majority of our listeners have no idea what that is either. And there's also, there's also going to be another incident involving ICE agents.
Yes.
Let's be realistic. We know that with the fact that they continue to push these ICE agents into these cities, there's going to be another incident. And really, transparency is only going to matter if the public actually gets to see the evidence, if it's not being locked away or selectively disclosed for just certain eyes to see. To me, it's going to be bogus.
Yeah, and I sound more and more pessimistic and skeptical every day, but I don't trust that this administration, even if there is footage, would not edit it. I mean, they're really big at redacting stuff.
Right.
So I don't foresee it coming out and, just roll it. Just roll the footage. Let us all see it. It's not going to happen.
This is also fairly politically convenient for this administration because, as we mentioned, let's be honest, they're trying to get the government back open. Donald Trump would like the Republicans, and we'll talk about this in just a little bit, would like the Republicans to actually negotiate with the Democrats to open things back up. But, that spending bill is basically hung up because of protections for citizens and less funding for ICE and DHS. And so this feels a little politically, motivated and maybe convenient at this given time. But we shall see. I'm all for body cams. I think that they're important for many, many reasons. I don't trust this administration to actually do the right thing with them.
No. Well, in the saga of Bill and Hillary Clinton and the threats of being held in contempt of Congress, the Clintons have decided that they will come for in-person depositions, and that way they will not be. They will avoid the contempt vote in the the Jeffrey Epstein case. Why? It's funny.
Yes.
I didn't see anybody else being called in, but Bill Clinton is being called in, and
isn't that weird? It's so weird how that works.
Yeah.
What I appreciated is House Oversight Chair James Comer says that the offer that the Clintons have made still lacks clarity, including firm dates, and he's not yet said whether he's going to accept it. Democrats on the committee Democrats on the committee are arguing that Clintons have agreed to all previously requested terms and expect the depositions to move forward. The offer was sent during a committee meeting as Republicans were preparing contempt proceedings after months of stalled negotiations. Comer had rejected earlier proposals for voluntary interviews instead of sworn depositions. If accepted, this agreement could avert a full House vote on contempt, which could carry legal consequences for the former president and the former Secretary of State.
I know this is a very simplistic statement or a question, but I thought, and Jamie, we're going to have a civics lessons from you later, so I figure you are the person I can ask this, and I know the answer, but I want to get it out. I thought the law was supposed to apply equally to everyone. Am I the most naive creature on the planet?
No. In fact, there's many parts of our Constitution on the national level and in our state level that would imply just that these rules should basically, be applied to everyone. Here's what I would say, though, about this. If Comer thinks that the Clintons' offer lacks some clarity, maybe that's because they also see this as a bit of a sham. Now, I wouldn't dream of imagining what the Bill and Hillary Clinton are thinking, but if we think it's a sham, this is a woman who was dragged into, as the former Secretary of State, dragged into congressional hearings for 11 hours and testified on Benghazi, right? So, they kind of understand how this wheel works. And if they're seeing it this way, I can't imagine,
And as a reminder, the Clintons had originally said they would come in and testify, but they wanted the hearings open to the public. And once again, transparency and this administration are at
Yeah.
They are diametrically opposed.
That's right. And, there besides the president, several of his cabinet members were also named in this latest batch of the Epstein files. So if you're going to
Are they being called in?
Well, that's what I was just going to say. I mean, it feels like there's a little bit of a discrepancy as to who's coming in to actually answer the questions. But, what do we know?
I
mean,
know
we just
nothing.
solved the budget in like 30 seconds. But, what do we know?
We know what we know what's happening. We know what we see. We know what other people see, and everyone knows what they see. It's if you choose to see it or if you choose to ignore it,
Right.
or excuse it, and that's because in the end we're all seeing the exact same thing. It's how
Yes.
it is being interpreted by each individual mind.
Yes, and for the Republicans, that's a completely different level of truth than the rest of us have
Yes.
as to what's actually happening on multiple different layers. Not only Epstein files, but when you look at what's happening in Minneapolis with the shootings, there's multiple levels of truth, and it doesn't seem like they're maybe existing in the real level, and they have. But they're alternate universes. That's what it feels like sometimes when you read the news headlines.
And it comes from the top. If you have to create an alternate reality because every time an election, everything is not real. There's always an excuse. There's always,
Right.
whatever here happened in the real world, that's not, I'm closing the Kennedy Center for renovation. Oh, you're not closing it because no tickets are being sold and everybody's canceling? No. Okay.
And the guy you just put in charge 2 weeks ago already stepped down because the job is so impossible. No, we don't need to talk about that. Let's just say that we need to make it Liberace's second home. It's fine. It's absolutely fine. That's
Too
what's
much
happening
gold.
here.
I started paying attention to this story yesterday, and it is so weird.
Yes.
Savannah Guthrie from NBC, her mom is missing and continues to
Yes.
be missing. They realized when she didn't show up for church on Sunday. Now, they're very adamant that I think her mom is 88.
84. Yep.
84, higher. Oh, there it is, 84. But they keep pushing that, she's not. There's no cognitive issues. This is not a woman who's confused and just wandered off. It is so strange.
It is really strange. And I actually watched Savannah Guthrie's plea on the Today Show yesterday of her talking about this and, asking for help in finding her mom. And you just really, anytime you have anybody in your world that's missing or, who you just don't have answers to, it's hard. And so I just really felt for Savannah Guthrie and the Pima County Sheriff, because this is taking place in Arizona. That's where her mom lives, has described the scene at the house as very concerning, and homicide detectives have actually been called in. There was blood found at the house, and so they are thinking that there is something that happened in this particular case, and that this woman did not leave her house by her own will, which
because her
even
wallet, her
stranger.
cell phone,
Yes.
her car, everything was still at the house.
Yes. And now they are saying there's no threat to the public in the area, but obviously at this point in time, the Pima County Sheriff's Department is urging anybody who has information to come forward because
Yikes.
Nancy Guthrie is missing. And so it's one of those stories that, at first seemed a little under the radar.
Right.
And then as the course of yesterday just kept escalating. And all of a sudden we got to this point where about a half hour ago, we found out that there was blood at the scene at her home. So,
And it's, the house, you don't just walk away from this house. It's kind of in the desert. It's a beautiful home. But it's surrounded by tumbleweeds and desert. So it's not,
desert.
it's not like, I'm going into town. Just
Right.
walking. No, you got to take the car if you're leaving the house.
Yeah, because that's the other thing. I mean, as you mentioned, everything was there, including the vehicle. Everything is still there. So it's going to be interesting, but hopefully they find her safe and sound, because that's all you really want in these types of stories or these cases. At 84, I think, the natural instinct for everybody was like, oh, she's a little bit older. She's, needs some medicine too. So they're worried about the health conditions with the whole thing. So hopefully it works out.
Yeah.
It is 6:19 right now. You're listening to Civic Media Mornings. My name is Jamie Martinson.
And I'm Brian Noonan. When we come back, we'll talk about the funding deal and the president wanting everybody to get along. Good luck. This is the Civic Media Radio Network.
MDX, the talk of the Isthmus.
Buying a home is kind of like eating pistachios. Some are easy to open, some take a little work, and every once in a while, you get a tough one that makes you question your life choices. That's where we come in. At Aaron Weber Group, we crack open the market and find you the perfect home. Whether you're looking for a cozy starter home or a mansion with a snack pantry big enough for a lifetime supply of pistachios, we've got you covered. Call Aaron Weber Group at Powered by Compass today. We'll help you find a home that's nothing but perfect.
It's the Eco Minute, powered by Clean Wisconsin, your environmental voice since 1970. I'm Amy Barrio. Environmental groups across the state, including Clean Wisconsin, are calling for a pause in AI data center projects. The groups issued a joint statement calling on lawmakers to develop a strategic framework that will ensure Wisconsin communities are not harmed by the massive power and water-hungry facilities. That call includes no burning of fossil fuels to power AI data centers and no increases in energy bills. Wisconsin's landfills are filling up with food. That's according to a new study from the DNR. Wasted food and food scraps account for 20% of the trash sent to Wisconsin landfills. That's the largest single category. The agency is working to reduce per capita food waste disposal in landfills by 50% in the next 4 years. Right now on the Defender podcast, new hope that a bipartisan solution for state PFAS funding is at hand and the industry group that could kill it. Listen at cleanwisconsin.org or wherever you get your podcasts.
You wanted to be cool, which led you to smoking, which led to a pack a day. Then you met that special someone, which led to starting a life with them, which led to wanting to live longer, which led to quitting. Then you heard you may be at risk for lung cancer, which led you to getting a low-dose CT scan. If you smoked, get scanned. Talk to your doctor and learn more at savedbythescan.org. Brought to you by the American Lung Association and the Ad Council.
I was stuck in a state of panic and endless rituals, so I made the call.
Mental health care works when you...
15 seconds until we're back.
It's 6:22 right now. We hope that your morning is going well so far. If you're listening in Oshkosh or Appleton on WISS, thank you so much for joining us this morning. And if you're in the La Crosse area, you're probably listening on WLCX. We also welcome you to the show. This is Civic Media Mornings on the Civic Media Radio Network. I am Jamie Martinson.
And I'm Brian Noonan. Good morning. We mentioned it earlier, but we're going to delve a little deeper. The president and other top Republicans really want to talk to Democrats and stop the conservative revolt that is happening over this funding bill. They want, I revolt may be a little strong, but I think,
hey, if they can use adjectives, so can we.
Sure, exactly. So we got to, because the government is closed. I don't know if you've noticed, it was closed over the weekend. Government's usually closed over the weekend, at least government offices. We don't pay that much attention. How many of us really in decades past, knew what that meant if the government closed down? You're like, well, the post office is closed on President's Day. I don't know.
What I was surprised about is even with a partial government shutdown, Congress was actually working yesterday. This is usually Prime Speaker Mike Johnson sending everybody home kind of territory. So I was shocked that they were working yesterday, quite honestly.
Well, he must have got the word from the top because, last time he shut it down. He didn't bring anybody back. He didn't swear people in. Mike Johnson, he's a piece of work. I got to ask Gwen more about Mike Johnson to see if if the public persona matches the real man. I guess I'll put it diplomatically.
What I appreciate about Gwen Moore, and she'll be joining us after 7:30 this morning, is she's usually honest in her responses. So it should be a very interesting answer that we would get from the Congresswoman. But it is interesting because, when it comes to Mike Johnson, he's scrambling a little bit right now to secure the votes in what is a pretty divided GOP as Senate Republican leaders urge House members to pass this budget deal, without adding any new demands. And the president himself is making personal calls, because he usually does. I don't know why this is surprising to anybody.
What a
to
shock.
to House Republicans, pressing them to support the bill with no changes in order to avoid a prolonged shutdown. Now, there's some conservative hardliners involved in this, though, led by Florida Republican Anna Paulina Luna. They're pushing to attach a strict voter ID requirement, a move that would actually derail a key procedural vote and stall this bill entirely. Johnson has rejected that idea. Those two don't always see eye to eye, so it's interesting when those two go head to head. But he is warning that adding this measure would jeopardize reopening the government. And this proposed deal includes a short-term extension of DHS funding. It's paired with broader full-year spending package, creating space for negotiations over Democratic demands to rein in ICE practices. Democrats also remain a bit divided. You got party leadership who doesn't really want to help the Republicans advance this bill. Progressives are firmly opposed to any additional funding for ICE. And then you have some senior Democrats who have signaled some support. And let's remember, the GOP has a razor-thin majority. Johnson can't lose anybody in this particular vote if he wants this bill to actually succeed, which is also going to make it very, very interesting over the next few days.
I can't see it. Well, I shouldn't say that. I can't see it passing with no changes. I think there are a couple of Republicans who are going to say, no, we've got to pump the brakes on ICE and DHS. They have money to operate right now. Pull that out. Again, I'm going to fix everything in 30 seconds. Take that part out. Take that funding bill out, or that funding out of the bill. Everybody seems to, unless you're a hardliner on the right, want to have more discussion regarding DHS and ICE funding. Take it out. Let them vote on the rest of it, and then take the 2 weeks, friends. Oh, it's 2 weeks. Everything's 2 weeks with these guys. But it's not going to pass with no changes. There's got to be enough. Somebody on the Republican side of that house has to have the sense to look at this country and listen, they read the polls as well as we do. And while we don't put 100% stock in those, they know what their constituents are saying. They're getting the calls to their office. Their staffers are going, oh my God, we are being inundated with angry constituents.
Well, and when you talk about the polls, I mean, the last government shutdown was deeply unpopular with even GOP voters. And so Republicans were really able to pin the blame on the Democrats like they wanted to last go around. So it feels like if you're trying to repeat that strategy, especially in a midterm election, that's only going to risk further damage to their standing with the public. And we mentioned that razor-thin majority. Now, I want to remind everybody that Democrats just won a special election in Texas over the weekend. Speaker Mike Johnson says that new member is most likely going to be sworn in this week. Now, I think that's fascinating because the last time there was a special election and there was a new member who needed to be sworn in, by the way, we were waiting for the Epstein files and they needed that final signature, they wouldn't swear her in. Do we all remember how that played out? Weeks and weeks the poor woman had to wait. And we were told it was because there was a government shutdown and that we couldn't possibly do it during a shutdown. But just the Epstein files are now been released. It's fine. We can move along procedurally now. It's fine.
Yes, because as the argument went, and it was a legal argument, people had been sworn in during shutdowns in the past.
Yes.
Mike Johnson decided this it's supposition, of course, Jamie. We don't know the truth, but it seemed convenient that the one signature that would have forced the release of the Epstein files was kept out. But like you said,
I don't know.
We don't have to worry about that anymore. Now we just have to deal with more victim blaming and victim shaming and the DOJ just seeming to act in a kind of a retribution style toward the accusers and the victims.
What I love, though, is even when something should be as essentially as simple, and I get nothing in government is simple, but when it comes to funding the government, we can't even manage to do that correctly right now, right? Like we can't even manage to do that correctly. We can't get it done for the people who are without jobs. We just sit and wait. That's what we're going to keep doing. So I wouldn't hold my breath that this gets done in the next couple days. And we'll talk with Gwen Moore. We'll get her take on it later. 6:29 right now. You're listening to Civic Media Mornings. My name is Jamie Martinson.
And I'm Brian Noonan. We'll talk to Rachel Dion Thunder about grassroots grassroots movements after this on the Civic Media Radio Network.
Where your neighbors argue politely.
This report brought to you by Downdren's Distilling, a destination craft distillery focused on creating unique spirits. Online at downdrens.com or visit the tasting room in Cottage Grove.
Farming operations need to keep an eye on the mailbox if they want to see a change in their bank balance. I'm Pam Yankee, starting you off before the opening bell on a Tuesday morning. Quick look at what's happening in agribusiness news influencing your markets this morning. Sandy Chalmers is the executive director of USDA Farm Service Agency offices across the state. She said right now her staff is working on pre-certified documents that will be mailed to farming operations. Once they certify those documents, then payment distribution can begin under USDA's Farmer Bridge Assistance Program. She says the $11 billion allotted to that program will go out all at once.
There have been a lot of questions about whether that payment will be factored. Farmer Bridge is 100% payment, so the producers will see that all up front. And, the goal of the program is to provide assistance so farmers will be able to farm in the spring and lock in their inputs and everything. So it may be a little later than we had originally hoped because of that government shutdown. But as I said, everything's ready to go, and we intend to get that assistance out as quickly as we can.
Sandy Chalmers, State Executive Director of USDA's Farm Service Agency offices. So again, watch for that pre-certification documents in the mail, and payment will follow shortly thereafter. Markets are next.
Did you know you can leverage crop insurance to benefit your bottom line? Ag Country Farm Credit Services can help. Choosing the right coverage for your goals can help maximize margins, strengthen your marketing strategy, and build a more resilient operation overall. As you plan for the season ahead, focus on more than just managing risk. Call 800-450-9858 to speak with one of our dedicated crop insurance officers. This institution is an equal opportunity provider and employer.
Supreme International is bringing its legendary know-how to an all-new standard lineup of TMR mixers, except there's nothing standard about it. With the Precision Ag Series, every model is purpose-built for how you feed. From once-a-day mixing to commercial operations and everything in between, there's a Precision Series TMR mixer to fit. Maximize your uptime, consistency, and efficiency with the reliable performance Supreme is known for. Talk to your local Supreme dealer today.
In overnight trade this morning, right now we've got December corn up a penny at $4.56. November soybeans are up 3, $10.78. July wheat, that's up a penny, $5.48. Yesterday, barrel cheese and butter were both unchanged. 40-pound block cheese did gain 2 1/4 cents to $1.38.5. The March Class 3 milk that goes into cheese up a nickel right now, $16.07 a hundredweight. So just a quick snapshot on the market information on a Tuesday. I'm PM Yankee.
This report brought to you by Sugar River Pizza. Skip cooking. Get the hot, handcrafted pizza consistently rated Best of Madison, delivered straight to your door. SugarRiverPizza.com.
It is going to be sunny today with a high of 23 by midday or early afternoon, and then temperatures are going to start to drop here by later this afternoon. Tonight, partly cloudy. We're going to drop down to 3 above for an overnight low. Tomorrow, lots of sunshine with a high of 25. I'm meteorologist Sean Cable. It's 9 degrees outside right now.
Is there an issue that's important to you? Would you like the President of the United States to know how you feel? Why not call the White House comment line? The number is 202-456-1111. The White House comment line is open from 10 a.m. to 3 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, Monday through Friday. Standard phone rates may apply. You may also send an e-message to the President at whitehouse.gov/contact. A public service message from the Civic Media Radio Network.
A fresh perspective on the great outdoors.
What's up, everybody? My name's Joel Clayfish, and this show is all about the great outdoors of the great Midwest. I have the joy of steering the ship across every lake in Wisconsin, Minnesota, Michigan, Iowa, and Illinois. This is Raised in the Woods.
Raised in the Woods with Joel Clayfish and Billy Lawton. Find the podcast on Apple, Spotify, or wherever you listen to podcasts.
Pete Schwaba. On the next Nightlight, founder of Sturgeon Spirits, Carl Lowenstein joins the show.
You're listening to Civic Media Mornings on the Civic Media Radio Network. Thank you so much for joining us. We do hope your day is off to a great start. My name is Jamie Martinson.
And I'm Brian Noonan. Good morning. We've all been watching with great interest the protests, the demonstrations in Minneapolis after the murder of Alex Preddy. And it's amazing to me, and we've just said this before, how many people are showing up. And it's grassroots movements that are doing this. I'm always amazed how those movements come together, how these protests get the word out, how they get people here. One of the groups that's been very instrumental in these protests is the Indigenous Protector Movement. Rachel Dion Thunder is the co-founder and vice president of IPM. She's also a community organizer, an environmental scientist, and an advocate for Indigenous sovereignty and justice, and she joins us now. Rachel, thanks for being with us today. I appreciate your time.
Yeah, thanks for having me. I'll just say Tanse, Gananaskamotan, and Naskamotan, Upsis, Nanahiawak, Upsis, Rachel Dion Thunder. So I just greeted everybody listening and thanked everybody in my language. I'm Plains Cree, Nihio, Nihiawak, Big Stone Cree Nation, Treaty 8. So yeah, thanks for having me on.
That's great. And for those of us, and I apologize, who aren't familiar, where was the Cree Nation? Where was their original lands?
So our people are still on our original lands. It's a lot of it is in Alberta and Saskatchewan and Canada. Okay. So yeah, my tribe is in northern Alberta.
Very nice.
So let's start with telling us a little bit, Rachel, about what IPM is and what you guys do. What is the mission of this organization?
Yeah, so IPM is we started grassroots and really all of us that are co-founders are second generation American Indian movement or AIM. And so for folks that don't know what AIM is, AIM was a Native American civil rights movement that started in Minneapolis, Minnesota in 1968. So my dad was a part of AIM. One of our executive director, Crow Belcourt, he's the son of Clyde Belcourt, which was one of the co-founders of the American Indian movement. And the American Indian movement was originally founded to protect our people from police brutality in Minneapolis. And so what we have done with the Indigenous Protector Movement is really just continued on that work of the original American Indian movement in Minneapolis. A lot of the work that we do is combating police brutality, standing up for Indigenous rights, a lot of environmental injustices. So that's the kind of work that we do. And so we already had some patrols in place, like AIM Patrol and Mini Shields, which is some community safety patrols in South Minneapolis. We've been running those for years. And so when Metro Surge started in Minneapolis, we already had those structures in place to be able to respond rapidly. And I know there's a lot of folks listening, like in Wisconsin right now, and now's the time to start building those structures in your own community, because that's how we were able to deploy legal observers and patrols on our streets during this occupation by the federal government in Minneapolis. So having that system in place, having those collaborations already in place with other grassroots groups and organizations that do the same work, establishing those networks is really powerful. Now is the time for people to be proactive in their communities where ICE activity is not there currently.
Well, Rachel, that's an interesting point. So how do these communities that might be listening today and saying, you know what, she makes a good point, we do need to start getting ready. What's the steps? How do you go about getting those organizations? You said you guys started with community safety patrols. Walk us through getting things to a point where then you can network with other groups.
Right. So it really just starts with being a good neighbor and being a kind person, being a loving person, wanting to help your community. And so every community is different. So look at what's going on in your community. Look at where there's niches or needs currently being unmet and see how you can fill those gaps. And so a lot of that here in Minneapolis started with like environmental justice work that we were doing and then tapping in with other groups that were doing the same work. And social media is such a powerful tool that like older generations, didn't have. And so now, you can do a quick Google search. You can search on Facebook. You can search on Instagram and find really quickly other groups of individuals, grassroots groups, and organizations that have the same interests as you. And so it's really easy to tap into those networks. And like a big part of what we're doing right now is like mutual aid work. So like we're taking a lot of donations like food, PPE, safety equipment, gas cards, all of those things, and then distributing them out to community because there's a lot of families that are scared right now, right? Like there's a lot of families that are scared to go to work, that are scared to send their kids to school, that are scared to go to the grocery store. And being able to fill those gaps to make, our neighbors, our most vulnerable, feel safe, those people that have those needs, and how do we meet those needs? And so, it's different for every community. And we just looked at the needs that were not being met in Minneapolis, and we started organizing. That's all it takes. That's the hardest step. A lot of times, when you look at this work, you're like, okay, well, all these families need food. And, I've got 520 families that are reaching out saying that they need food. That seems overwhelming. The hardest thing is to get started. And so once you get started, there's just a momentum to it. There's a spirit to it. People want to do good. People want to help each other. And if you can create the system that people can plug into to help each other, the people show up. That's the beautiful thing about what's going on right now, is just how community is showing up for one another every single day. Peggy Flanagan, yesterday we had a ceremony at Powwow Grounds, which is a Native coffee shop on Franklin Avenue, the Native American Cultural Corridor in Minneapolis. And, she said, I'm exhausted, but I'm not tired. And so that's the general feeling here. Like we're all dog bone exhausted, but our spirits aren't tired.
We're talking with Rachel Dion Thunder. She is the co-founder of Indigenous Protector Movement out of Minneapolis. She's a community organizer, an environmental scientist, and an advocate for Indigenous sovereignty and justice. Now, Rachel, I do want to ask you, how do movements like what we saw in Minneapolis with ICE Out build out solidarity across different groups? Because not only was your group involved in this through the indigenous community, but there are faith communities who were involved in this sort of organization, labor organizers, and others. So how are you building that type of solidarity among those different groups?
So, it kind of goes back to what I was saying before. People are seeing these injustices and activating in their groups that they already had. So, obviously labor unions have existed for a long time. And so they were able to activate quickly and draw a lot of folks into their network. And a lot of us that do this work kind of just know each other from other causes or other injustices, and that's where a lot of the collaboration happens. But it also doesn't, just because you don't know somebody doesn't mean that you don't show up. And that's a big part of it, is just showing up. Look at who's doing food banks. Look at who is planning a march. Look at who is doing mutual aid deliveries to folks in your community, and just reach out, just show up, just say, hey, I want to volunteer. And then that's how you start. Just get to know everybody, get to know their names, and just see how you can plug in. And there's lots of different ways for people to plug in. Movements are not just protests or actions. It takes all of our gifts, all of our skills, like even you guys, right? Like look at the platform that you have here on this radio show. Like that is your tool. That is your gift, is sharing the story and sharing this information out to people. We need grant writers. We need people who can do communications and write press releases. We need people who can run dispatches from their houses. We need people that can deliver food. We don't necessarily need everybody on the front lines. There's lots of ways for people to plug in and to be a part of a movement, and that's what makes a movement beautiful.
Are you finding that what's happened over the last few weeks in Minneapolis seems to be galvanizing more than the quote unquote usual suspects of people who were demonstrating and protesting? When you tell people that you need all these diverse kinds of talents to come together, have you noticed more people from all sorts of I can't stand in a protest line, but I can do this? Are more people like that coming into the movements?
Oh, absolutely. A lot of people that have never done frontline work are now on the front lines. And we're running a hub out of Powwow Grounds Coffee Shop and All My Relations Gallery right there on Franklin Avenue. And we have so many folks just showing up like, hey, I'm here. I'm not working today. How can I help? And that's what it takes. That's how we build these movements. And we do have a lot of folks, it's not necessarily like frontline younger people. Like we've got grandmas, we've got grandpas, we've got moms, dads come in, in after work and after school is out, showing up with the kids. And that's really what community is. We're building these connections, these real connections, not through a phone, not through social media, but face to face, just out of kindness and love for each other and for our city and for our neighbors.
Rachel, what message would you like people outside of Minnesota and, anybody listening today here in Wisconsin or maybe on our app or through our streaming platforms to understand about why these movements and what is happening in this groundwork in Minneapolis is so important and why it matters so much, especially in these moments?
If we think about strategically what this administration is trying to do, they're testing how far they can push communities. Because they came to Minnesota with a strategy, right? They came to Minnesota to try and see how far they could push the line. And I think it's important right now to support Minnesota, but, to also prepare your own community. Sorry, I'm getting an oil change. I have to keep my truck ready to go on patrol.
And she multitasks.
That's it.
Hold on. Yeah, if you could just check my tire pressure. Okay, thank you. Sorry, guys.
Oh, no worries.
No worries.
Yeah, they came to Minnesota to try to prove a point. They came to a Democratic state. They came, to a state where the governor was running on the presidential platform with Kamala Harris. They came to a state that has never voted for Trump. And they came here heavily militarized and violent. And I believe that they came here to see how far they can push people, see how far they can push communities, see how far they can get away with things, and also see how far they can press our electeds and our democracy, because right now it's like, what can our electeds do to actually get ICE out of Minnesota? And not only ICE out of Minnesota, but defund ICE and dismantle ICE, because we don't want ICE anywhere in the country.
No. Rachel, we're up against the break, but we appreciate your time today. Keep up the good work. People can go to indigenousprotectormovement.com to get all the information. Rachel Dion Thunder is the co-founder and vice president of Indigenous Protector Movement. Rachel, thanks so much for your time today. We appreciate it.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
You're listening to the Civic Media Radio Network. It is Civic Media Mornings, and we will be right back.
You and your community from the Midwest Farm Report throughout your day on 92.7 WMDX.
My part-time service in the Army National Guard makes it possible for me to be more for the community I call home. My training helps me at work when I lead by example. The Army National Guard has taught me the value of showing respect to those I come in contact with each day. My service also allows me to be there for my community in ways others can't. I help my hometown recover after nature strikes. My service in the Army National Guard allows me to keep my country and those I care about safe from threats. I also work with a network of professionals that help me succeed and accomplish the mission. Plus, the Army National Guard education benefits make getting a higher education a reality. Being an Army National Guard soldier makes living and serving in my community more rewarding every day. Learn how you too can live and serve part-time close to home by visiting nationalguard.com.
Sponsored by the Wisconsin Army National Guard. Aired by the Wisconsin Broadcasters Association and this station.
I'm Rick Smith, host of The Rick Smith Show. If you're looking for honest talk, real stories, and straight-up news that matters to you, tune in to The Rick Smith Show. We're digging into the issues that affect your job, your family, your future. Join me weeknights at 9 on the Civic Media Radio Network, because your voice deserves to be heard. That's The Rick Smith Show, heard weeknights at 9 right here on the Civic Media Radio Network.
You're a storyteller, negotiator, artist, innovator. Whatever your passion, whatever your skills, behind the scenes or in front, you belong here. A career in broadcast media. Local radio and TV stations in every town and city need someone like you. So do what you love and bring your talent to life. Your passion, your skills, your career. You belong here. Learn more at youbelonghere.media.
Listen to the Civic Media exclusive podcast, Busted Pencils.
Time to get your learning on. There's no shortage of things to be learning about. What's going across all of the cities right now with ICE protests or people in support of immigration enforcement. The push for public school reform, here's an opportunity to craft a very pro-public school, democracy matters platform.
Subscribe to Busted Pencils wherever you listen to podcasts.
We are the National Park Foundation, and together with you, we're creating a future where every person, every generation gets their chance at an unforgettable moment. Learn more at nationalparks.org/foundation.
Parallel parking in Madison? Impossible. Finding real conversation.
15 seconds until we're back.
Oh, I thought we were done.
It's 6:52 right now. We hope that your morning is going well so far. Bright and early and, a little movement already in downtown Madison. If you want to join the conversation today, remember, you can always call or text us, 1-855-752-4842. That's 1-855-75-CIVIC. My name is Jamie Martinson.
And I'm Brian Noonan. You caught me in mid-yawn. Good morning.
I'm sorry.
No, that's all right. Listen, that happens to everybody.
Get up.
Everybody listen, I'm awake. I'm caffeinated. I'm ready to roll. I'm nervous because another measles case has popped up in Wisconsin. This right down the street, Jamie, on the UW-Madison campus. A student has contracted measles. That was according to an email that was sent out to the school community yesterday. Second case of measles in Wisconsin this year. Not promising.
No.
Again, for the let's not vaccinate crowd.
Right. And this student was exposed during some international travel, and health officials from the Department of Health Services say that this case is not connected to a measles case that was reported just last week in Waukesha County, which was also travel related.
Yes.
Now, this particular student, we do know, lives off campus and is recovering after receiving medical care. The student did visit several locations on and around campus, though, while infectious.
Oh.
And so if you're in the Madison area, take note, because those locations include the Qdoba on Park Street, Psychology Building, the Wiseman Center, and the Genetics and Biotechnology Center, as well as Union South. Yeah. Measles, by the way, is highly highly contagious, just
Yes.
in case anybody's wondering.
But the good news is, if you've been vaccinated, then you don't have to quarantine. This is all coming from the official email from UW-Madison. You should watch yourself if you were in any of these places in the last week or so. Look for symptoms like a high fever, cough, runny nose, and red watery eyes, which sounds like every morning for me. But if you have not been vaccinated and you were in these places, and I don't think this will matter when we tell you you're supposed to quarantine for 21 days after the date of exposure. But if you're not getting vaccinated, you're probably not going to quarantine either, because your concern for public health is probably pretty low.
Yeah.
I'm guessing. And that's me talking and science.
Right. I mean, and here's like I go to people like Brian, who's been an educator, right? Especially working in classrooms with kids of small kids, right? They touch everything. Everything hits the hands. They want hugs. They want kisses. They want all of that. They're little germ machines.
Yes,
We know this.
they're oscillating sprinklers of filth. That's all they are.
They really, really, truly are. So I always go to my educator friends when it comes to whether or not people should vaccinate. And I'm not going to tell you what you need to do with your own family. I get that. People have got to make their own choices. But at the same time, it's a matter of public health. And when you're talking about educators and people trying to have your children in classrooms, like I have plenty of friends who've been in your shoes, still do what you used to do. And I know every year they just kind of brace for that moment when the first kid sneezes.
The first case of the flu, even a cold. I've had pink eye outbreaks, head lice outbreaks, flu, all of it. And I understand we don't want to tell people what to do, but in some cases, people need to be told what to do. Yeah. There's a reason that measles was almost gone. There's a reason that these vaccines are 97% effective, because we get them and we are protected. And yes, maybe the government is telling you what to do, but you know what? That same government is also telling somebody else what to do to protect your kids. So if you have any self-awareness, any concept of living in a society, it makes sense that you wouldn't want your children getting sick, and you wouldn't want to make other children sick. And guess what? There's a good chance that you were vaccinated by your parents and you didn't get sick. So while you're very magnanimous to not tell people what to do, sometimes I want to grab collars, shake, and go, just do it.
I won't say I agree, and
I know you didn't agree. I know you didn't agree.
But I will say that if that's the choice you're going to make, I guess you live with those consequences.
But then keep your kids at home.
Right.
And you stay at home, and you don't get to be part of society. If you're not willing to make any sacrifice for the betterment of society, you don't deserve to be part of society.
But you bring up a really good point. It's the self-awareness, right? And how many people, and I would say this might be a generality, and I don't mean to generalize, but
please do.
At the same time, how many people do you see walking around in this world right now who have no absolute care or self-awareness for anybody else anywhere?
Everybody walks around like they're toddlers with no body awareness. They have no idea that another human being is in front of them, behind them, next to them, just like a toddler or a drunk. Drunks and toddlers are very similar as well. They're just stumbling about, banging into things, gibberish coming out of their heads. And it's there is no self-awareness. There is no, and it's because. And it was happening before the pandemic. We can't blame everything on the pandemic. Stop that.
A lot of it can.
People were isolating before. Once the internet came along and cell phones and video games, you had a lot of people who became insular. And once you are insular, you forget that there's people outside of your little bubble, and you have to exist outside of your bubble.
I know it's hard. Because you get into your social media world, and I get that it's hard to actually leave the house and interact with humans in a way that needs to happen.
You gotta touch grass, Jamie. That's what the kids say in the boyquarium. You gotta touch. They go, Brian, get out, touch some grass. And I said, did you say grass or? All right, I will.
Yes, Brian.
Okay.
In light of this conversation, I do just want to remind everybody that Florida's Surgeon General basically just lifted all mandates on vaccines.
Then if you don't want to vaccinate, everybody should move to Florida, and we'll chop it off, let it float away like a big petri dish out in the middle of the ocean. See ya.
Take care of yourselves out there, people.
And take care of each other.
That's right. Don't live in your bubble. It's 6:59 right now. You are listening to Civic Media Mornings. I'm Jamie Martinson.
And I'm Brian Noonan. Civics lesson after the news on the Civic Media Radio Network.
WMDX Columbus, Madison's real news and great conversation. A Civic Media station. WMDXradio.com.
ABC News, I'm Sherry. Preston worries in Arizona for the mother of Today Show host Savannah Guthrie after police say they think she was kidnapped from her home.
We really want to find her alive, safe and sound. But my goodness, the longer this goes, the tougher it's going to be.
Pima County Sheriff Chris Nano speaking with ABC News. 84-year-old Nancy Guthrie needs medication daily, or her family says it'll be difficult to survive. President Trump now says he wants Republicans to take over running elections in many places and says they should, quote, nationalize the voting. The Constitution puts states in charge of running elections. Bill and Hillary Clinton, facing a potential contempt of Congress vote for refusing to testify about Jeffrey Epstein, have now changed their mind and say they will appear behind closed doors. ABC News legal analyst Brian Buckmeyer.
This appeared to be a high-stakes game of chicken where both sides were standing off to see who would flinch first. The answer seems to be the Clintons.
Face-to-face talks between the U.S. and Iran set for Turkey. This is ABC News.
Your neighbors are talking. Leaders are deciding. Madison's story unfolds daily on 92.7 WMDX.
For 92.7 WMDX News, I'm Savannah Tomei Olson. Decisions from Congress on health care are now hitting Wisconsin families hard. Maddie Schaefer reports.
The One Big Beautiful Bill Act passed by Congress last year included major reductions in federal Medicaid, with new provisions that could put about 306 people in Sawyer County at high risk of losing health insurance coverage, according to the Wisconsin Department of Health Services. In Kenosha County, that number rises to nearly 2,000. At the same time, Enhanced Affordable Care Act premium tax credits expired at the end of the year, causing insurance premiums to skyrocket for many Wisconsin families. Senator Tammy Baldwin excoriated rising costs in a press call on Wednesday, hosted by Opportunity Wisconsin. She called on Republicans in Congress to take action and hosted Wisconsinites facing rising cuts. Joe Selski, a firefighter from Kenosha, says his family relies on Wisconsin's Medicaid program to afford care for his son, who has a rare condition. He says without Katie Beckett Medicaid, which is for children under 18 with long-term disabilities or complex medical needs, they would not be able to afford their son's treatments.
I really think that Congress needs to take action and reverse those cuts immediately and restore health care for those Wisconsinites that are losing it.
Emma Widmar from Mount Pleasant, who lives with multiple chronic conditions, relies on Medicaid-funded services for daily care.
And if Medicaid didn't have my back, I wouldn't be able to afford the health care costs that keep me alive.
Dr. Abigail Lanou is an emergency physician in Chippewa Falls and says rural hospitals and the healthcare system are at risk.
Healthcare premiums are going to go up everywhere, not just for people on the ACA plans.
According to the Centers for Medicare and Medicaid Services, nearly 290,000 Wisconsinites enrolled in ACA marketplace coverage in 2026.
That's Maddie Schaefer reporting, and I'm Savannah Tomei Olson, 92.7 WMDX News.
The Brewers changed networks. Hi, I'm Mike Clemens with sports. The Brewers have made it official. They're moving their televised games from the struggling FanDuel network to the MLB network. Team president Rick Schlesinger explaining the decision.
We have every expectation that we'll have an over-the-air package for fans. Obviously, it's a handful of games, and whether those are standalone or simulcast, probably the latter. Those deals will be finalized, relatively soon, but I expect we'll have an announcement on that. So yeah, there will be an option. We're trying to serve the fans in whatever viewing platforms they want.
So in other words, stay tuned for more developments. Meanwhile, pitchers and catchers report to spring training next Thursday. Basketball, the Bucks host the Chicago Bulls tonight at Fiserv Forum. NFL. The Packers linebackers coach Sean Dugan has been hired as the new defensive coordinator of the Miami Dolphins. Packers GM Brian Gutekunst to hold a press conference tomorrow in Green Bay with Sports on Mike Clemens.
This report brought to you by Serenity Pet Spa with award-winning dog grooming where every pup is treated with love, care, and patience. 3 locations around Madison. SerenityPetSpaMadison.com.
It is going to be sunny today with a high of 23 by midday or early afternoon, and then temperatures are going to start to drop here by later this afternoon. Tonight, partly cloudy. We're going to drop down to 3 above for an overnight low. Tomorrow, lots of sunshine with a high of 25. I'm meteorologist Sean Cable. Temperature now is 10.
Not completing high school is more of a social thing than it was an academic thing. Even though all these years have passed, I still had that longing to have my diploma.
At age 30, Carissa finished her high school diploma.
If you're even considering getting your high school diploma, you can do it.
No one gets a diploma alone. If you're thinking of finishing your high school diploma, you have help. Find free adult education classes near you at finishyourdiploma.org. That's finishyourdiploma.org. Brought to you by the Dollar General Literacy Foundation and the Ad Council.
Hey there, Wisconsin. Tom Hartman here. Democracy is not a spectator sport, so join me each and every weekday right here on Civic Media for the Tom Hartman program from 11 a.m. to 2 p.m. Covering the news of the day and sharing ways for you to get off the sidelines and get active in your community, because change starts with you. Get involved and tune in to the Tom Hartman program Monday through Friday from 11 a.m. to 2 p.m. right here on your local Civic Media radio station.
Finding support for my child with ADHD felt overwhelming.
15 seconds and we're back.
Right now, we hope your morning is going well so far. If you're in the Wausau area listening on WXCO, thank you so much. Or maybe in the Eau Claire area listening on 93.5 The Tap. We are happy to have you here. My name is Jamie Martinson.
And I'm Brian Noonan. Very excited to have temperatures in the double digits, even though they're just in the double digits, 10. But hey, we're on our way. Oh man, I can't believe it.
Balmy.
It's I have had a heater going in our basement bathroom for a week and a half now, trying to thaw some pipes. So when I hear 10, I'm almost to freezing. So let's get this taken care of.
How's it going if it's been a week?
I am afraid to turn the water back on to see. I have to do it. I have to do it because our daughter and future son-in-law are coming this weekend, and we need that bathroom. Yes, it's always very well. They're only going to be here for a couple minutes because they come, they drop off the dog, and then they're going to their friends.
Gotcha.
But it's still nice to have the other bathroom. So I figure I've got a lot to do. I'm going to wait till the end of the week because if, God forbid, a pipe is broken, it's easier to handle on the weekend when we don't have shows. So it's like
I like the mindset, Brian.
Yeah, I've got
good.
the
Pre-planning.
I'll tell you what, the walls are very warm in the and now the ceiling is warm. Everything is warm, so I'm hoping now behind the wall it's warm as well. But that's neither here nor there when it comes to my bathroom may be shut down, but that's nothing. The government is also shut down.
Yes.
There's a segue for you, and you know why? Because we can't decide on funding, but we also have to worry about elections because there's been calls for nationalizing elections. You know, the president has sent the FBI down to Georgia to rehash the 2020 election. And now the president is also promoting false claims about Wisconsin's election system. He is reposting and amplifying social media posts and videos that allege widespread voter fraud. And if you were here during the last election, you know it's all been investigated. There is no actual fraud. Trump shared claims asserting Wisconsin has roughly 3 million more registered voters than eligible adults, suggesting state election officials are enabling mass fraud. And it goes all the way back to some conspiracy theories. And with that in mind, we decided that we needed to get to the bottom of this because we are all about facts with our opinions thrown in, but it's fact-based. And we love to have lessons, because sometimes we all need to go back to school. So, Parker, I think it's time for a really, we took our segment and we've jazzed it up. Hit it.
Take your seats, kids. It's time for a civics lesson.
Oh, that's so good. You can hear the chalk writing. It's very,
That's
very
right.
exciting. But no, you're right, Brian. When you talk about this and you talk about the last couple of days, and yesterday, if you were able to join this program, we mentioned that Wisconsin's own Brian Stile has written an act called the Make Elections Great Again Act that they're trying to introduce for this nationalized election takeover. But we got to start with a little timeline, okay?
Yes.
Because let's keep in mind how far these words from this current president go back. November 2020, okay? After he lost Wisconsin to Joe Biden by about 21,000 votes, the president falsely claimed widespread voter fraud. Recounts, audits, and courts upheld the results, and the recount actually slightly increased Biden's margin of winning, interestingly enough. And then late 2020 to 2021, Trump-backed lawsuits in Wisconsin, those were actually dismissed. The GOP legislature launched an investigation led by former Justice Michael Gableman, which, let's remind everybody, failed to find any evidence of fraud, and Gableman actually lost his law license for 3 years because of helping with these claims and doing this investigation. Then we go to 2024 through about 2025. Trump repeatedly revived claims that he won Wisconsin and suggested the election was stolen, despite consistent debunking by election officials. And this is on the state side. This is on the local side. So these aren't just a couple of people. This was a whole group of election officials saying, no, you did not actually win the election in Wisconsin. And then we go to last week, right, where you mentioned it. He amplified these false claims that Wisconsin has millions of registered voters than eligible adults, and conflated active and inactive voter lists. So he actually made this post on Truth Social last week, where he shared a video that featured testimony from a gentleman by the name of Peter Bernegger. And Peter is an election conspiracy theorist who has previously been convicted of fraud. Interestingly enough, the company you keep kind of thing.
Yeah.
So
Birds of a feather.
So Bernegger's claim relies on the growth of Wisconsin's overall voter database, which officials say reflects record keeping, not fraudulent voting. And these claims suggest that Wisconsin has roughly, as you mentioned, 3 million more registered voters than eligible adults. An assertion that election officials in this state say is misleading and incorrect. These allegations echo conspiracy theories tied to Trump's efforts to basically undermine confidence in the 2020 election, none of which have been substantiated to this point. So here's where your facts come in, okay? According to the Wisconsin Elections Commission, the state had about 3.6 million active registered voters as of January 1st. Wisconsin also maintains roughly 4.6 million inactive voter records, a standard administrative practice. So election officials basically say that keeping inactive records helps prevent fraud by flagging duplicate registrations or attempts to vote under another person's name, because these inactive voters include people who have died, moved out of state, registered elsewhere, been convicted of a felony, ruled incompetent by a judge, or removed due to long-term activity. They cannot vote unless they re-register with valid proof of insurance. Only active voters appear in the official poll books on Election Day. So no, Mr. President, Wisconsin's voter roll figures are not a sign of quote-unquote fraud waiting to happen.
All right. Class dismissed.
That's right.
Thank you, Professor.
Well, thank you.
That was, I don't understand. And again, sometimes it feels like we're just beating a dead horse, because you can only say, how can you create an alternate reality so many times? And then you start to think, well, maybe I'm in the alternate reality. Maybe I'm the one who doesn't understand. And that's what gaslighters count on, that we're at some point going to just get so overwhelmed that we're going to give up. Now, I noticed that this election, the 2024 election, was not rigged or fraudulent.
No, because he won.
Oh, okay. So there is that discrepancy. If I win, everything's okay.
Mm-hmm.
If I lose, or if any Republican loses, the elections are rigged. Where does this stop? And how do we educate people to say these? I guess, where does all the distrust come from? This is why I'm struggling, because I can't I tend to think in common sense terms, which gets me in trouble a lot of times. But I tend to think that if it's so obvious that things are wrong, why is it so hard then to not convince? I'm not here to change anybody's mind, but how are other people not seeing this? How do you not look at this and go, all right, there's a pattern here. This is just like a child. If they don't get their way, something's wrong. Somebody cheated them. It's like when you play a game with your kid when they're very young and you beat them, which I believe every once in a while you should do. Not physically. You should be victorious in a game of chance over them.
Yes.
Just to clarify, because that's all I need. That's the one thing Parker would pull and make a promo.
Yes.
You should beat your kids. Thanks, Parker. I see how you operate.
Hey,
but
what do you got against me? Jeez.
Nothing. I just know you're committed to accurately portraying the show, so I want to
And your
clarify.
downfall. I'm committed to your downfall as well. You never know.
Well, listen, I wouldn't say it out loud, but I sense it. I'm an empath that way, where I always think people are plotting my downfall. But back to the point, children will always say, you cheated.
Yeah.
And listen to the similarities.
Right.
But how do we, courts, counts, audits, none of this seems to matter to people.
And I think that's the purpose. Right?
Right.
That's the purpose of all of this. All of this is to sow mistrust so that people don't want to vote or people don't want to go vote, because let's be realistic. For a lot of these particular candidates that the GOP is rolling out, they probably wouldn't win elections without the mistrust, because they're not vetted good candidates. Not because I have anything wrong with who they are as people, not because I might disagree with them. I don't care.
Some are not good people.
That's the other part. That's what I was just going to say. But there is a purpose to all of this. It is to sow mistrust so that people don't want to go stand in line to cast their vote, and so that when the courts say to us, "No, these are all legal," there's enough mistrust that's been put out there that this administration can say, "No, there's not," because look what happened to me in 2020. But in 2024, things were fine, and that's essentially what this is.
Where did this? There used to be a healthy cynicism toward the government. It goes all the way back to the 60s and Vietnam and all that. People always questioned the government. But when did the questioning the government turn into complete blanket distrust? I mean, I know now why we don't trust the government, because they lie to us constantly. But where did this desire to believe the falsehoods that are proven time and time again to be falsehoods, where did that come from? Where was the turning point? Was it Watergate? Because we questioned during, like I said, the Vietnam War. We questioned the government during Watergate. Sure. We questioned during the Iran-Contra hearings. We questioned during all of that. There was always questioning of the government. So it wasn't like we lived in a utopian society up until now. But what has changed in the populace? And listen, if you want to answer that question, we'd love, if you think you know the answer, 855-752-4842, 855-75-CIVIC, because it seems like we reached that point where questioning became nothing that comes out is going to be believed from either side.
Yeah. No. And honestly, and I don't want to blame all of our world's perils on social media, but it doesn't help.
Do it.
It doesn't help the situation at all. I mean, because you have the conspiracy theorists who are posting videos like they're actual fact, and you have your own administration out there posting videos like they're actual fact, and then you have government officials who are also posting conspiracy theorists, and then you have AI generated videos, and a lot of people can't tell the difference right now between the AI generated and the real stuff. And you have all of this compounding, and then you have people living in, as we were talking earlier this morning, in this bubble of self-awareness
Yeah.
or lack thereof. And it's really hard to get out of your own head and to get out of the heads of anybody who's telling you this information if that is the world that you are constantly living in. Touch grass, read a book. Those are not things that are far off in this country. Like, we should be touching more grass and we should be reading more books just for that purpose.
And take 20 minutes to not think about politics. Take 20 minutes to look at your kids or call a friend or just, I don't know, do anything else. Go read TMZ, go read some trashy celebrity news. Do anything else. Take a break so that you realize while this is vitally, vitally important, it's not all that's happening in the world. And it shouldn't be all that's happening in your world.
Yeah, absolutely. Lynn in Golden Valley pointing out that the fraud claims in 2020 and 2024 happen to be by the same guy. Thanks for the text this morning, Lynn. It is 7:19. You're listening to Civic Media Mornings on the Civic Media Radio Network.
Caffeinated.
Tax season is here. Ramos Tax and Services has been saving you money for over 25 years. Locally owned, open year-round. Get $20 off business and $10 off personal returns. 608-442-8170 or visit 658 South Gammon Road.
At Chance Design Build, we provide remodeling done well with love. Our commitments extend beyond our workplace and your home to support our community. We judge people by the content of their character, not by the color of their skin, and we believe all humans deserve quality, publicly funded education, childcare, and health care. But what do you believe in? At Chance Design Build, we believe every person must have the opportunity to thrive. If you're thinking about remodeling your home, go to chancedesignbuild.com to learn more about our commitments to you, your home, and our community.
There was a time when barbecue was perfect. A strong, reliable flavor that could be counted on. But then big manufacturers decided that barbecue needed to be zesty or spicy or sweeter or whatever. If you miss the good old days of great tasting barbecue, we'd like to introduce you to Grandpa's Barbecue. Made in small batches from Grandpa's original recipe. Buy yours online today at grandpasbarbecueshop.com.
Did Wisconsin Governor Tony Evers allow unauthorized immigrants to get taxpayer-funded health care? No.
But the veto that Governor Evers did, allowing illegal aliens to continue to get taxpayer-funded health care, I mean, that's just a bad veto.
Contrary to Republican U.S. Representative Tom Tiffany's December 10th claim that Evers' veto allowed taxpayer-funded coverage, no such coverage exists. Unauthorized immigrants are not eligible for federally or state-funded health care coverage in Wisconsin. 14 states use state funds to cover unauthorized immigrants, but Wisconsin does not. Evers vetoed a Republican-backed bill December 5th that would have barred public funds for health care coverage for unauthorized immigrants, calling it polarizing political rhetoric. Fact briefs are bite-sized fact checks of trending claims produced by Wisconsin Watch.
15 seconds until we're back.
It's 7:22 right now. Thank you so much for joining us this morning. Boy, Aquarium, good music choice. That's not bad this morning. Got a little groove to it.
Yeah, I like it.
We got to boogie a little.
They're bringing the funk. They're bringing the noise.
I love it. I love it. You're listening to Civic Media Mornings on the Civic Media Radio Network. I'm Jamie Martinson.
And I'm Brian Noonan. The Wall Street Journal broke a story yesterday that, wow. It doesn't surprise me that there's another cover-up in this administration. But this one has the potential to be very, very serious. What I'm talking about, if you didn't see the story yesterday, and I saw it quickly, and then it seemed to spread like wildfire. A U.S. intelligence official has alleged wrongdoing by Director of National Intelligence Tulsi Gabbard. Remember her? Yes, she was very prominent that she went away, and then she appeared looking like she was sneaking around a corner in Georgia. But there's a whistleblower complaint. According to the Wall Street Journal's reporting, it is so highly classified, it has sparked months of wrangling over how to share it with Congress. That's according to U.S. officials and others familiar with the matter. It has prompted a continuing behind-the-scenes struggle about how to assess and handle it, with the whistleblower's lawyer accusing Gabbard of stonewalling the complaint. Jamie, this is, again, a term that is thrown around a lot with this administration, unprecedented in how it's being handled, because this is not... Usually if there's a whistleblower complaint, things are handled differently, correct?
Mm-hmm. Yes, absolutely. And would it shock anybody to know that Gabbard's office is rejecting the claim completely and calling the complaint baseless and politically motivated? Also says it's navigating unusual classification and legal issues. Well, first and foremost, let's be clear. If Tulsi Gabbard has effectively buried a whistleblower complaint about herself for 8 months, and even Congress hasn't seen it, despite clear legal requirements, this is a major issue. And this should be a much bigger, and you're right, it did take off yesterday, but I actually thought that this would be a much bigger story just based on the ramifications of it than it was yesterday. Everybody was talking about it, but there weren't a lot of people doing in-depth conversations about it. And I really feel like those are needed, because the president also fired the inspector general and then replaced them with someone who's seen as a loyalist to Gabbard, which then raises even more serious questions. Not that we haven't seen this happen again already with this administration, but about independence and oversight in this particular case. And these claims that the complaint is too classified for Congress, that doesn't hold up. Right. Congress routinely reviews highly classified material. It's why there's a Gang of 8. That's why there's a SCIF where you have to leave your phones, and it's underground and it's locked and there's no light and there's no windows, there's no doors, there's no nothing, because it is that place where you go for this highly classified information. Which also leads me to the question: what's in this paperwork?
Exactly.
What have we had under lock and key for this many months that we can't share?
And because, just so you know, there is a timetable for these kind of things. Normally, if there is a whistleblower complaint or any complaint, the inspector general is required to assess it and decide whether the complaint is credible within 2 weeks of receiving it. Then to share it with Congress within another week. So 3 weeks is the limit of what the law says should be done with a complaint like this. Now, this was filed in May. Mm-hmm. So you can do the math. I know I'm not using the administration's 2-week timetable on everything, but that's a long time. So this is, and there's reports that it's being held in a safe, and so you're right, Jamie. If it is as Tulsi Gabbard and her attorneys and her office would state, that it's frivolous and politically motivated, has no merit, blah blah blah, then why bury it? Why is it buried like this? At least maybe we don't know about it yet, but Congress should have known about it a long time ago.
The fact that there are people involved in this that say, according to the Wall Street Journal, quote, it could cause grave damage to national security. Mm-hmm. This is probably something that Congress should be involved in. And, you know, there have been reports over the past few months that Tulsi Gabbard's popularity with the president has been waning just a little bit. And I find it fascinating because at one point in time, we saw her basically disappear from the cabinet meetings, from the light, essentially, as we like to say. And we didn't see really much of her until she trotted out in Georgia last week when they were going through the election warehouse, right, in Fulton County. So I also think it's really interesting if this is something that the president would decide to cut ties on, or if this is so gravely dangerous that this is a situation where he feels like, and his administration feel like, he has to keep Tulsi Gabbard around. Because they make rash decisions, right?
Yes,
they don't make the most logical decisions. So do we have to keep her around, even if the president really doesn't love her, because of whatever is in this document? Or these are the questions that I start coming up with in my head as we hear this story.
Well, and you also wonder, all right, if the president knows about it, is it so bad that it would sink his administration? Because things are not trending upward for this administration.
Right.
And if it is, because there's a point. If you're a Republican member of Congress and your whole thing is national security, right? That's why we want to take Greenland. Remember Greenland from a few weeks ago? And all of a sudden,
2 weeks ago,
2 weeks ago, if all of a sudden we have a scandal with national security ramifications so great that it's taking this long to talk to Congress about it, how can Republican members of Congress turn their back on this and not call for her removal,
right,
the president's removal, if it's as bad as as indications would point to? We don't know yet for sure, but we'll find out.
Maybe. Hopefully we do. You know what would also help? If people were qualified in this administration to actually do a damn job. Nobody hires me when I'm not qualified.
Listen, again, I solved the budget in 30 seconds last hour. Think I'm getting a call? No.
Details. 7:29 right now. You're listening to Civic Media Mornings. I'm Jamie Martinson.
And I'm Brian Noonan. U.S. Representative Gwen Moore joins us after this on the Civic Media Radio Network.
I want the record to show that Dom and I believe it is aliens. We believe it is aliens. Yes.
Wow. An Area 51 thing?
I love it.
Yes.
I love it.
All right.
That's what we have.
All right.
Put it on the board. We're gonna take the what are the odds with aliens?
I'm going to run to the bathroom before Gwen joins us.
Bye-bye. I have a feeling.
Now, from the Rural Mutual Insurance
I have a
Farm
feeling
News
it's
Desk,
something
here's
with
what's
the
happening on a
Ruskies.
Tuesday. They're enlisting the help of our current Alice in Dairyland, Sarah Hagenow, and she's suggesting that a baked potato can be transformed into something almost pizza-like.
I have lots of recipes to share, but one that I am particularly fond of right now is a loaded pizza baked potato, which uses russet potatoes. When it comes to eating Wisconsin potatoes, not only are they cozy and delicious, but they're highly nutritious. For those that might be watching their New Year's health resolutions, potatoes are low in calories, they're low in sodium, they're high in fiber, and they're gluten and fat-free. They also are a great source of vitamin B6, which is good for digestion, vitamin C, which helps boost immunity, potassium, and lots of other antioxidants.
Sarah Hagenow, our current Alice in Dairyland, supporting our Wisconsin potato and vegetable growers. You can find that recipe and more online, eatwisconsinpotatoes.com.
Did you know soybean diseases like white mold and sudden death syndrome can survive in your soil even after rotating crops? Prevention of these diseases is a constant battle, and yield loss from an infection can be devastating. The right management plan makes all the difference. Keep your beans safe this spring with Heads Up seed treatment. Heads Up guards your seed from both white mold and SDS. Stay protected and profitable by asking your seed dealer for Heads Up. Learn more at headsupst.com.
Innovation, that's BioVet.
We know you work hard every day to keep your livestock healthy and run an efficient operation because there's no such thing as a snow day. Take time this winter and consider BioVet, your trusted partner in helping you raise stronger, healthier animals and to protect your bottom line. The knowledge and support from our team can help you make the difference in keeping your livestock healthy. Call 1-800-BioVet1 or visit bio-vet.com.
Innovation, that's BioVet.
And the Food and Farm Exploration Center in Plover has announced that Les Doby has been named their new board president. He's a central Wisconsin native that has decades of experience in agriculture, logistics, business development, and financial management. Doby will take over the reins as board president from Richard Pavelski, founder and former board president for the Food and Farm Exploration Center. Need more details? Pop on over to MidwestFarmReport.com. That's a quick snapshot of what's happening in food news on a Tuesday, brought to you by Rural Mutual Insurance. Wisconsin only and Wisconsin strong. Find your local insurance agent at ruralmutual.com. I'm PM Yankee.
This report brought to you by Sugar River Pizza, your catering expert. Host your party in their gorgeous Sun Prairie location or a venue of your choice. SugarRiverPizza.com.
It is going to be sunny today with a high of 23 by midday or early afternoon, and then temperatures are going to start to drop here by later this afternoon. Tonight, partly cloudy. We're going to drop down to 3 above for an overnight low. Tomorrow, lots of sunshine with a high of 25. I'm meteorologist Sean Cable. It is 8 degrees outside right now.
Oh, this is Robert Pilot of Native Roots Radio. On our show, we share stories from Turtle Island highlighting the people and issues shaping our communities. From protecting water to treaty rights and preserving languages and traditions, we cover it all. Hear voices like Arvina Martin of Emerge, Wisconsin, Dr. Stately, Robert Lilligren, and more. Because Native issues are human issues, and human issues are Native issues.
Native Roots Radio, weeknights at 8 on your local Civic Media radio station. Pete Schwaba.
Heinz ketchup has to be stopped. They have the keg chup now for Super Bowl parties that they're pushing. 114 ounces or something like that. And then they had remember, it was the ketchup smoothie, Conrad.
Oh.
They had the horrible ketchup smoothie. And then they've also got ketchup smoothie. Oh, ranch ketchup. Enough ranch. We can be done with ranch. It's a fine product, but it's gotten into everything. There are people dipping ranch in ranch, and it's wrong.
Nightlight with Pete Schwaba, weeknights from 5 to 8 p.m. on the Civic Media Radio Network.
15 seconds till we're back.
It's 7:35 right now. Thank you so much for joining us this morning. We do appreciate it. We hope you are having a great start to your Tuesday. And you are listening to Civic Media Mornings on the Civic Media Radio Network. My name is Jamie Martinson.
And I'm Brian Noonan. And Boy Aquarium didn't know this, but that song I used to end my first full-time radio program in Sparta, Illinois with that song every day. Because the show would end, I'd say, it's time to go for a walk. And then I'd hit the walk of life.
Is that so?
And that's
Nice.
so. That was when Dire Straits was big. Was it Brothers in Arms? Was that the album? Who knows? You know why we're talking about music and not politics? This is the beauty of live media. You never know. We're waiting. We think U.S. Representative Gwen Moore is going to join us.
Looks like she's connected
and she is. Very nice. This is very exciting. U.S. Representative Gwen Moore, she represents Wisconsin's 4th District, is joining us. And if you have any questions for the representative, you can text them to us, and if we can get to them, we will try to get them to the...
We have plenty to
We
ask
have a lot of
ourselves.
questions. Yeah, don't be offended if we don't get you. Representative, thank you for being here.
Hey, good morning. Great. First time for me.
Well, we're glad to have you, and we're happy. Hopefully, it will not be the last time as well. We'll see how you feel when it's over. But no, we're very excited to have you here. I want to start with a lot of focus on the House coming up. So, do you, with the current spending bill being debated, do you support the funding bill in its current state, or are you holding out to try to separate the DHS funding from the rest of the bill?
Well, actually, that has happened in the Senate. And what we're going to see is a package with 5 bills and the Homeland Security bill split out from the other 5 and with a continuing resolution until February 13th, so that there can be some discussion of some accountability for ICE. And I would say rather commonsensical things. Like not wearing masks, being able to identify yourself, wearing body cameras, things that they should have been doing all along as law enforcement officials. I hope those discussions will also include making sure that we preserve our First Amendment rights. I mean, something that everybody sort of took for granted, that you could protest without, being shot or tear gassed. But our Fourth Amendment rights, illegal searches and seizures. I mean, someone just break your car window open and snatch you out. That there would be some restoration of some probable cause before you could approach somebody. So, I think that what we're asking for is not extraordinary or excessive. It's just take us back to what is legal. We just want the law followed.
Yeah, and Congresswoman Moore, Speaker Mike Johnson says that if this shutdown continues for very long, that this will be on the Democrats' hands and that they'll be blamed. How do you respond to that framing, knowing your reasons why you voted against funding for DHS? What do you say back to him on a case like that?
Listen, that is the Republican talking point. According to them, everything is the Democrats' fault. I mean, if you listen to Donald Trump, he's still blaming Joe Biden for what we're experiencing now in the way of affordability. But they it is so painful. They are clearly in the majority. They are clearly in charge. We just swore in Christian McAfee, the seat that was once occupied by Sheila Jackson Lee, and then Sylvester Turner took the seat and died literally within days of his being sworn in. And a whole year, the Republican governor held up filling that seat because the majority was so narrow, and because Speaker Johnson doesn't want to invite Democrats to be part of our democracy. So no, I can't see where the Homeland Security bill will fail again. Uh, uh, we have Democrats who will vote for it. We're unlike them. We're not under some sort of autocracy where the people have to do whatever the Democratic leader says that we want to do. But we do want to drill down on making sure we can preserve people's civil rights and constitutional rights with regard to ICE. And I'm hoping, so it doesn't have anything to do with whether the government is opened or closed. This is whether or not we can rein in this private police force of the president's.
We're joined by U.S. Representative Gwen Moore. She represents Wisconsin's 4th District. Representative, you rightly said the Republicans are in the majority. They run things. But we've heard and we say, and I've said it many times, we're wondering why Congress can't do anything to curb this administration. So behind the scenes, give us, for those of us who don't get to be on the floor, what is it like trying to reach any kind of consensus with the Republican members of the House? And are you starting to see any cracks in this blind support of the administration?
Well, I think we've all seen some cracks, and they've manifested themselves in ways that are fortunate or unfortunate. You have people like, and I'll call names, Don Bacon from Omaha, Nebraska. I mean, that is definitely a blue spot in the entire state of Nebraska. But he is a former Army general. He has represented that district with some dignity, but he's voted for all of Trump's crap, although he's a moderate. But what is he doing to get out of this situation? He's retiring. You had Marjorie Taylor Greene rebel against Trump, dragging her into the White House, demanding that she take her name off the Jeffrey Epstein
the list, the document.
Yeah. The bill. And when she didn't do that, he called her Marjorie, traitor Green, and literally ran her out of the house, or she saw she was no longer going to be his girl. And so I think the Republicans are trying to hold their heads down when you talk to them on the elevator. I have had Republican women chase me into the bathroom to try to convince me that they were one of the good ones. But
they'd say it on the floor, not in the bathroom.
That's right, chasing me into the bathroom. And so, all of us want them to grow a spine, but when they do, there are serious consequences for it, and they know it. It's not an enviable position. The big solution here is to take over the majority of at least one of the houses. And I think we're in really good shape to really take the Senate so that we can really make Donald Trump a lame duck in the second half of his presidency. That's the only solution, y'all.
So, Congresswoman, let's kind of switch gears to that, because you actually had an op-ed that ran in the Wisconsin State Journal on January 30th. And when you talk about, flipping the Senate, that goes back to voting in each and every state. And you discussed the fairer map situation here in Wisconsin in that op-ed. So, why is this, for anybody who's still on the fence about why we need these fairer maps or what they are, why is this such a critical moment for these redistricting reform here in the state of Wisconsin, especially going into the elections?
I think it's really important to level the playing field. I mean, we saw what the president did, most notably in Texas. I mean, wiped out, really redistricted on the basis of race, wiped out uh, seats held by African American members. In Missouri, there are two African American seats, one in St. Louis, which would be hard to get, and another in Kansas City, Representative Cleaver, Emmanuel Cleaver, wiped that seat out. Tried to get Indiana, except the state legislature wouldn't go along with them. And California, in response to what happened in Texas, did it because they were trying to create a permanent majority. What's happening now? We just saw that in Fulton County, Georgia, in Atlanta, the president so enraged about Georgia voting against him that he has now gone in and taken, boxes of actual voting ballots out of Georgia. Furious with Minneapolis, and which is besieged by ICE. And I guess maybe we'll talk about that. But bottom line is, the president has said as recently as within the last 24 hours, yeah, I won Minneapolis 3 times and they've been cheating.
No.
No. They didn't vote for you, Donald.
No.
And so right now, Mark Pocan and I are the 2 Democrats from Wisconsin. When this is a 50-50 state.
Right.
It's a 50-50 state. So how do you figure 6 seats for Republicans and only 2 for Democrats? The math ain't mathing. And it's because of gerrymandering.
The math ain't math, and I love that. Congresswoman, we only have a couple minutes left. We, again, appreciate your time. Do you think that there's a possibility of an ICE occupation in Milwaukee or Madison or anywhere in Wisconsin like we're seeing in Minneapolis, or are we safe because they're using Minneapolis as more of a testing ground?
I don't think anybody is safe. They're in Colorado now. I mean, we're in Maine. I don't think anybody is safe. I think the important thing for us to do is to do what Josh Cowell, our Attorney General, is doing. I think we need to lean into all of the judicial solutions we can to make sure that they uphold citizens' rights to protest. When they come here, there are trainings that are going on in Wisconsin for how to be a legal observer. I am concerned because I think we got a wonderful police chief, but I do think, our police union, almost immediately endorsed the Republican candidate for governor. I can't imagine what the basis of that was. I served with Tom Tiffany, and he ain't all that to be endorsing on day one of his candidacy. Without shopping around.
Congresswoman, we're going to have to interrupt you and leave it right there. That is Congresswoman
Suzanne,
Gwen Moore. She is a representative of District 4, and thank you so much for your time.
Thank you, Congresswoman.
It is 7:48 right now. Civic Media Mornings. My name is Jamie Martinson.
And I'm Brian Noonan. Hey, there's another game coming up on Sunday that doesn't involve 300-pound guys. We'll talk about that on the Civic Media Radio Network.
All right, and we are out. Representative Moore, thank you so much for joining us. We really appreciate it.
Okay, looking forward
Thank
to
you
the
so
next
much,
time. I
Gwen.
wanted
We
to
appreciate it.
say pray for Savannah Guthrie's family.
Yes.
100%. We spoke
So
about that
mention
earlier.
okay?
It's
And
it's
we gotta
wild.
all do that.
Yes, absolutely. We will pass that along from you.
Okay, bye-bye.
All right. Thank you,
Thank
Representative. Bye-bye.
Media station from 11 a.m. to 2 p.m. for the Tom Harbin program. Tag, you're it.
Doctors Without Borders is delivering life-saving medical care where it's needed most in communities around the world. From bandaging war-wounded patients in Sudan to providing clean drinking water in Haiti, we're in more than 70 countries worldwide, bringing patients from sick to recovering, from emergency to aid, from crisis to care. This life-saving care is made possible by a global movement of supporters like you. Thank you.
Small businesses are the heart of America. As the nation's largest nonprofit resource of expert business mentoring, SCORE has helped millions of entrepreneurs build their businesses for free. Find a mentor today at score.org.
Local news, real voices, and conversations that count. That's Madison. And that's 92.7 WMDX.
Where working people come to talk. It's the Rick Smith Show, weeknights at 9 on the Civic Media Radio Network. Join me for an honest approach to the issues American working families care about. No talking points, no focus groups. Get ready for a heavy dose of democracy, fairness, grit, and no apologies. It's current affairs from a working class labor perspective. Facts are center, science is real, and everyone gets a seat at the table. The Rick Smith Show, weeknights at 9 on the Civic Media Radio Network.
A fresh perspective on the great outdoors.
What's up, everybody? My name's Joel Clayfish, and this show is all about the great outdoors of the great Midwest. I have the joy of steering the ship across every lake in Wisconsin, Minnesota, Michigan, Iowa, and Illinois. This is Raised in the Woods.
Raised in the Woods with Joel Clayfish and Ellie Lawton. Find the podcast on Apple, Spotify, or wherever you listen to podcasts. Listen to the Civic Media exclusive podcast, Busted Pencils.
Time to get your learning on. There's no shortage of things to be learning about. What's going across all of the cities right now with ICE protests or people in support of immigration enforcement. The push for public school reform, here's an opportunity to craft a very pro-public school, democracy matters.
15 seconds until we're back.
It's 7:52 right now. Boy, Aquarium, good music choices today. You guys are on point in there.
Well, we got to keep it on theme here.
I love it. I love it. It is 7:52. You're listening to Civic Media Mornings on the Civic Media Radio Network. I am Jamie Martinson.
And I'm Brian Noonan. All right, we can't keep praising them, Jamie, because
I know. Their
we're
egos will get big, and then we're gonna have to like pay them more or feed them or something.
we're
and
throwing off the whole dynamic, the power dynamic, as the as Big Power likes to call it.
That's
the,
right.
Big power.
Big Power, yes. Big Power needs to stay on it. This is exciting. Listen, if you don't like puppies, you don't have a soul. I don't care who you vote for. I don't care where you live. If you don't like puppies and you're a progressive, you're still a soulless shell of a human being.
They're just the wiggliest, sweetest little things. Oh, I love puppies so
Every
much.
day I say no more dogs, and then we have two senior dogs, and we've had dogs for 30 years. I love my dogs. I love dogs in general. And then I see a picture of a puppy at one of the local rescues, and I'm like, oh, let's get another puppy. And I say it just like that. Huh?
You become a big mush ball, right?
I do.
Like you see a puppy, you have to. They're adorable.
They are adorable, and you have to talk like that. Don't laugh, Parker. Parker's laughing when you gotta talk to dogs like this.
You do.
This is how you talk to the little puppy.
Who's a good boy? You're just a good boy. Yeah, that's what you have to do. It's perfect.
So the reason we brought up puppies is Sunday is the Super Bowl. And you're like, wait, huh? Hold on. That doesn't make sense. Well, you know that on Super Bowl Sunday, there is also the Puppy Bowl. And Jamie, this year, we've got a few local representatives in the Puppy Bowl.
Okay, so here's what I'm going to quickly, first and foremost, say. A puppy bowl, always, I will watch the whole thing from start to finish because sometimes it is better than the actual game. It really is. At any rate, yes, there are two puppies this year, Anson and Avro. They are both rescues from Underdog Pet Rescue of Wisconsin, and they will be competing on Sunday. Both dogs have since been adopted by Madison area families. Yes, and Anson is actually deaf. And so Underdog Pet Rescue says that his appearance in the Puppy Bowl is a really great way to highlight how dogs with disabilities can also thrive in loving homes.
Yes.
I have friends who had their dog now is about 6, but he is a pit bull and he is deaf. And he is one of the most incredible dogs I've ever met. Everything he knows is by hand signal. And so he is so much training went into it. He is one of the best dogs and makes mine, who is able-bodied and does not have any disabilities other than her nose that gets her into too much trouble, look like a sheer mortal is essentially what he makes her look like. It's actually embarrassing.
That's amazing. And it is. Here's a question for everybody. Are you an adopt or a shop when it comes to your pets? Do you go to rescues? Like Jamie mentioned, these two dogs are from the Underdog Pet Rescue of Wisconsin, which is fantastic. Or are you a shop? And I come and please jump in 855-752-4842, 855-75-CIVIC, because I have always been an adopt. Mm-hmm. One, because I'm cheap, and two, I don't need my pet to be a status symbol. Yeah. We didn't grow up with dogs because my parents and doctors said that I was allergic to dogs. Now, I've had dogs for over 30 years. So many lies my life is based on. Here's the real reason. My mom had 5 sons and my dad. She didn't want to have to take care of anything else. That's why, because she grew up with dogs. My dad grew up with dogs. But anyway, so I've always had these dogs, and I've always adopted because there's so many great dogs out there. But now all my brothers, they're Fancy Dans. And they have bought purebreds.
Gotcha.
And their dogs are beautiful and they're great.
Sure.
But it's like, it wasn't that important to me to have a specific breed that I was going to spend thousands of dollars on.
Right.
And my mutts have been healthy and they've all lived long lives.
Really long time. Yes. We've always been an adopt family as well. We currently have a 4-year-old Beagle boxer mix, Miss Aspen, who is just the light of my life. Like she's
nice.
Like I don't have my kids around anymore. So she is my baby, and she lives in that role, let me tell you. She is
It's funny how that happens, isn't it?
She's the sweetest, wiggliest little thing, and I just absolutely love her to pieces, even though I can admit sometimes she drives me absolutely bonkers as well. And no, we've always been the adopt people. I've never had the desire to go in and purchase a dog for, like you said, thousands of dollars, mostly because there are so many amazing animals in shelters that need really great homes or have been overlooked or have been turned away by other homes. And so I've always had this soft spot in my heart for an adoptable dog. And I have to say that we actually, when we were looking at Miss Aspen, we actually went to Underdog Rescue, and we looked at a couple puppies they had available. Not quite the right match, right? It's like matchmaking.
Yeah,
it's like matchmaking.
Of course. You swipe left, swipe right.
That's
right. You got to do it.
So, but no, we are definitely adopt people. Tom over on the text line chiming in saying he visits other people's dogs. Thank you for that from the MDX area. We've got Mark from Prairie du Sac saying he ran into a guy with an 8-week-old yellow lab after breakfast over the weekend. Cuter than cute version of his 7-year-old yellow lab Chief. It's because it's a puppy. Puppies are just the most amazing.
Dick is in Madison, and he jumped on the line. You can, too, 855-752-4842. Hi, Dick. Welcome to the show.
Had both, but the last two have been rescues, and this one is just turned 2 on January 1st, and we've had him since he was a puppy.
Awesome.
And he's the most amazing guy. He's like a mixture. He's a main dog in him is a Cholo, but he's also got Dachshund mixed in. And even though you'd call him a mutt, I have never seen a dog in my life so perfectly symmetrically marked.
That's awesome. That's awesome.
Both front paws are brown to the same height. He's got brown patches over his eyes, and the rest of them all black.
Cool.
All right. Well, Dick, enjoy him. Thanks for calling.
Remember, the Puppy Bowl, Brian, kicks off at 1 on Sunday, and you can watch it 3 hours of puppies on multiple different platforms.
And you can also go to Underground Pet Rescue at 2508 South Staunton Road in Madison, and they're having a big event there. You can meet the dogs that are in the Puppy Bowl. Oh, so much fun.
Love it. 7:59 right now. Thank you for joining us today on Civic Media Mornings.
All right, folks. Thanks for tuning in to Civic Media Mornings. We will see you bright and early tomorrow.